the rest will definitely join us as we go on. I should say we are all welcome to SOA Ghana and workshop and speaker conference on sustainable ocean and how we can protect the inhabitants of the ocean. For introduction, I want to say that SOA Ghana is part of a mother organization, a not-for-profit organization, the SOA, Sustainable Ocean Alliance, which is a global community of youth, entrepreneurs, and experts in their field, all collaborating to solve the greatest challenges facing our ocean. The mother organization started in 2014 and has turned out to be one of the largest youth-led network of ocean allies in the world. And it's been reaching people in over 165 countries, and Ghana is lucky to be part of it. The SOA Ghana chapter started last year, 2020. And we've tried to do a couple of things together, projecting issues about how to protect the environment, especially close to the ocean and the likes. And we are very happy that all of you have joined us today for this special meeting. At this point, my name is Prince Appiah, part of the executives. I have some of my colleague executives who are also on the call. I'll allow them to introduce themselves, then we go straight to the point. So over to you, Gideon and Abdullah.
Good morning. It's good to meet you all. I'm Gideon, team lead SOA Ghana. Thank you very much.
Okay, good morning to you all. My name is Afedzi Abdullah, and I'm a member of the SOA Ghana, and also I'm an ocean and environment journalist.
All right, thank you very much. And as and when the other executives join, I'll introduce them for the participants to know who we are dealing with. With this particular program, we'll be having two presentations, one from our main speaker, who is Professor Franceis Nunoo, and then our ocean and environment journalist, the award-winning one for that matter, Afedzi Abdullah, who would follow up. Then we would have some question and answers, and then we'll open the floors for others to come in. And so it's going to be a pretty much straightforward and a very short and expectedly insightful discussion. Not to waste so much time, I want to introduce our main speaker, who is going to be our first speaker, Professor Franceis Nunoo. He is an associate professor at the University of Ghana. He's the head of Department of Marine and Fisheries Sciences. He was the former Chief Director, Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development. He's an astute fisheries scientist and coastal management expert with broad expertise covering environmental, social, and natural resource governance issues in Ghana, West Africa, and worldwide. Professor Nunoo areas of specialization are fisheries science and coastal zone management. His major areas in fisheries science are biology, ecology, and management. His specific research interests in fisheries include studies on impact of ocean acidification on fisheries, improving data collection in Africa fisheries, impact of bycatch, discards and trash fish trade on fish stocks, poverty in small-scale fisheries, aspects of fish culture, aspects of biology of important commercial species, and fisheries-birds interaction. He's also an environmental impact assessment practitioner who has worked with a number of teams on national and international projects. I should say that we are glad and privileged to have Professor Franceis K. Nunoo to join us and present to us what he has for us this beautiful morning. You are welcome, Professor Nunoo.
Thank you very much, moderator, for those kind words. That was a long introduction. All right, yeah. So I'm happy to be here this morning and for us to discuss the oceans. I'll start by sharing my screen. Please, do you all have my screen?
Yes, I'm okay here.
Okay. All right, so I was given the topic, protecting ocean inhabitants. Whose duty? Protecting ocean inhabitants. Whose duty? This will be my outline. I will introduce the oceans and discuss why we need to protect the oceans, and then address the question of the protection, and then wind up by telling us that we all can do something about it. Very simple. So the oceans covers about 70% of the Earth's surface and contains lots of water. In fact, 97.5% of all water on Earth is in the ocean. All the rivers, lagoons, all water bodies run into the ocean. And there are 5 ocean basins in the world: the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian, and the Arctic and the Antarctic oceans. Ghana has the Atlantic Ocean on its southern border. So Ghana is bordered on the south by the Atlantic Ocean, which covers all the way even to South Africa, to West Africa and all. Now, people confuse ocean and the sea. So I took time to present it to us. The sea is an enclosed part of the ocean. Some people say the sea is a subset of the ocean. So the sea is an enclosed part. An ocean which is enclosed, covered on all its sides, then we say it's a sea. So we have the Mediterranean Sea, the Red Sea, the Sea of Japan, but they are all part of the ocean. Now, if you look at the picture on this slide, the ocean has so many sub-habitats. In fact, this is only a small part of it. Sub-habitats, so many. There are mountains, there are valleys, there are underground, and there are hills, all within the ocean. Each of them has its own peculiar life which is unique to that part of the ocean. So why do we have to protect the oceans? The ocean is important to us as human beings. Food and nutrients is very important. So I flagged that one first. All the food that we eat, majority of the food that we eat comes from the ocean or is ocean related one way or the other. So the fin fish and shellfish that we eat, shellfish like shrimps, lobster, all comes from the ocean. We have the fin fish like your sardinella, like your tuna, all come from the ocean. And this is global, the whole world, people eat fish. And in Ghana, fish forms 60% of our animal protein. But a key and peculiar one is that the ocean provides a source of oxygen that we breathe in. And it's been noted that 50% of the oxygen that we breathe in comes from the ocean. So every other breath that you take comes from the ocean. So one, then 2 from the ocean, 1, then 2 from the ocean. So the ocean is so, so important to us. And so Ghana or countries that have the sea around them often have fresher air and fresher oxygen to breathe in. Those that are landlocked are often very hot and very unbearable. The same way the ocean absorbs more than 50% of carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a gas that is dangerous, but the gas that causes climate change. And so human beings take in oxygen and we exhale carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide is absorbed by tiny plants, tiny life in the ocean called plankton, phytoplankton. And they use the process of photosynthesis, using sunlight to produce the food that eventually we eat. Another function of the ocean is that it regulates climate and the weather. The various water cycle and things leads to even the rainfall that you get to grow your crops. So it regulates the weather. It moves cold air to those of us in the warm place and moves warm air to those in the poles. So it helps to regulate the weather for us. It is a source of income to many countries, many countries. US, USSR, China, they are on the top and they get a lot. And Ghana also gets a lot of income from the ocean. It is also part of the global trade and transportation. Most of us are wearing shirts that were not produced in Ghana, and the shirt came to you from trade and from the oceans. So lots of ships bring all the food and things that we eat from the oceans. The rice that you eat, the imported food comes from the oceans. And it is a source of livelihood for many people. For many people living along the coastal areas, without the sea, they don't have a life. So fishermen, fish processors, carriers, packers, and all, their whole life, and lots of families. And in Ghana, over 10% of the population live along the coast and rely on the fisheries. So it's a source of employment and livelihood for many. It is also a source of recreation and tourism, boating and all. People travel just to go and see dolphins and whales. For Ghana and for many countries, it's a source of our oil and gas. It is a source of seawater that we use for many things. In fact, if you go to Nunoo, we have the seawater being extracted for drinking in the reverse osmosis process. Nunoo in Accra, seawater is being extracted because they can't get fresh water to them. It's a source of fresh water. It's a source of energy for many countries. They use the tides and the winds to generate energy. We have the sea and we are importing energy, which should not be the case. There's technology for converting the energy in the sea so that there will be no doomsday in Ghana, for instance. There's a lot of minerals in the sea, nickel, cobalt, which we can't find in other places. We have sand and gravel for our buildings. And most of all, we have salt, which we use to make our food sweet and nice. It is a source of sound transfer that the army rely on it and submarines rely on it to even defend the country. It is a source of medicinal products that fight the diseases that we face. Most of the diseases that medicines like syrups and antibiotics, they use nutrients from the sea to make it up. But whilst we are talking about life in the ocean, I would say that it is a habitat for billions and billions of different types of organisms. The species diversity and the life in the ocean is quite enormous, quite enormous. So there's a picture of our FPSO on the sea in Ghana, off Ghana's coast. Then this is, as on this slide, you see the divisions of the oceans. And these are all sub-habitats that I talked about. So many sub-habitats, all the way from the beach The beach sand, one beach sand, a handful of beach sand has got thousands of life in it. If you strain it under the sea or look under it in the microscope, made up of copypods and amphipods and other living organisms that contribute the food that eventually your fish will eat to survive. And then what do? We destroy the sand. We pick them up and we use them for our buildings. We pick them up and we destroy them. We go to defecate on them. So from the high water towards the sea, all the way from land to the sea, every habitat has got is teeming with life, lots of life, all to the bottom of the sea. 10,000 meters, 50,000 meters depth at various places, there is life, and very unique life as that. So on this slide, you see quite a pictorial view of some of the different organisms that we find at various levels. Those at the top, like zooplankton, copypods, diatoms, cannot live down, go down, else they die. And those at the bottom also cannot come up. God or nature has uniquely adapted all these whales, sharks, and everybody has their own level. If you move them to a different level, they die. So if we use light to fish and we attract those at the bottom to the top, they die. So this is just a pictorial view of some of the different organisms we find in the sea. There are also very unique habitats within the sea. And a typical one I want to bring our attention to is hydrothermal vents. They have little holes in the sea, under the bottom of the sea, that is teeming with lots of life, different, peculiar, unique worms that help to produce sulfur and other minerals that we use in life. All these lives are threatened by both natural and human activities. So on this slide, you see the natural activities that contribute to climate change, which leads to sea level rise, ocean acidification, that is the sea becoming more acidic than normally should be, and the sea rising so much to land that it splats humans on land. And then the various storms and tsunamis that derive from seawards to land. Then we have erosion that is washing away our infrastructure on land, the sea, and the rest. So this is a picture of canoes at various landing beach, and the sea is taking the sand away. This picture was taken in Cape Coast some years ago. There's also pictures taken along Adan, being washed away, and all these sand that you walk on has got life on them. Then this is also another picture taken along the coast towards Anyanui in the Volta region. The sea is taking away the major street in that stretch. So what are some of these threats? The human ones are more dangerous even than the natural ones. We are seeing a situation where the habitat, the ocean habitat, is being destroyed, and the life in the ocean is gradually, we are losing some species. They are becoming extinct, or their numbers are being reduced. When it happens like that, the ecosystem in general does not function well. The goods and services provided by the ecosystem is lost. Goods such as the fish, such as even the mangroves and things, the trees from the ocean and the wetlands, and the services they protect, they give us, like protecting our shores, are being lost. The whole ecological integrity of the ocean is lost through human activities, because there are so many processes that are destroyed by humans. And because of that, the ocean ceases to protect us, and in the end comes to overwhelm us. So all these activities, including illegal, unregulated, and unreported fishing, we are overfishing the resource of the ocean. All the illegal mining is sending chemicals from the various rivers into the sea. Illegal dumping of untreated waste. Do you bother to find out where your waste that you released this morning is going? Quite a lot of it by international laws are supposed to be treated. But in Ghana, often we release them all directly into the sea without treatment, including chemicals, plastics, microplastics, and all. In fact, the recent fish kills is an example of chemicals and waste that have been released into the sea that cause life in the ocean to die. There are so many international laws that should ensure, technically should ensure, that the ocean life is protected. And the mother of all laws is UNCLOS. UNCLOS 1982. UNCLOS is the United Nations Convention of the Law on the Sea. United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. And under that law, which has so many provisions, and I'll refer us to Articles 59 all the way to Article 70. You can download them and read them. You can download the UNCLOS. And the UNCLOS makes provision for all the use of the oceans and for sustainable use of the ocean. Every country, for instance, has been allotted an exclusive economic zone called EEZ, that if you border the ocean, all the land bordering your coast, like the 550-kilometer stretch of Ghana's coast, towards up to 200 nautical miles seawards, is for a particular coastal state to enjoy. So we have a coastal state. Ghana is a coastal state. A coastal state is a state that has got the coast, in simple terms. That is a state that is governed by the ocean. And or we have regulations and rules for the flag state, responsibility for the flag state, meaning a state that hauls and mounts its flag on any vessel has also got responsibilities. But even states that do not have the sea also have responsibilities. Island states and states that are landlocked, they even have responsibility to ensure that their waste don't run to the sea. We have the International Maritime Organization, which is to ensure that the sea is cleaned and all trade and transportation is done such that life in the ocean is protected. We have SOLAS, International Convention of Safety of Life at Sea, and the safety of life includes the humans that use the sea, as well as all the life in the ocean. Then we have the Marpol Treaty, 1978, that says that there should be no pollution into the ocean. We should not throw anything into the ocean that would destroy the life. You have the UN Fish Stocks Agreement. You have the Convention on Biological Diversity. That is for us to protect the diversity of the oceans, protect diversity on land, and ensure that it is available to subsequent generations. We have Convention on the International Trade of Endangered Species. That says that species that are endangered should not be traded, or when they are being traded, there should be some regulations and guidelines. So we have Appendix 1, 2, 3, giving guidelines as to how such endangered organisms must be traded. Then we have the FAO Code of Conduct for Responsible Fisheries. That shows how we should fish wisely to protect the ocean. On this slide, all I'm saying is that internationally and as a nation, we have a responsibility to put in the necessary laws, the policies, and the measures to ensure that the ocean is protected. So this slide shows the various jurisdictions that I've been talking about. You have the exclusive economic zone, which is 200 nautical miles from shore. Then we have, every country has got the territorial waters, which is 12 nautical miles. And so if a country is bordered by another country, they have joint responsibility to protect. And the high seas is where the highly migratory species are. And they are also governed by the UNCLOS, the international laws. So local national laws govern the territorial sea as well as the exclusive economic zone, whilst international law governs the high seas. So if you look at the UNCLOS that I talked about, there are so many recurring themes. And the key of them, and I'm happy that that's the objective of your group, is sustainable use. Using the resource in a wise way, in a good way, such that generations after us will be able to use it as well. The UNCLOS prescribe rights and duties of states. The fact that you have the ocean doesn't mean that you can do whatever you like to it. And there are penalties for it. That we should conserve all living resources, including endangered species, such as mammals and turtles. And even in Ghana, as part of our law, there is a provision in the Fisheries Act 625 that does not allow possession of endangered organisms, like the dolphins and the whales. They are protected. So recently, people were boldly holding and killing the dolphins that landed. No, it is against the law. According to our law, if you are found in possession of any endangered species, it's a criminal act, and you are supposed to be penalized and put in court. People boldly take pictures of them, and our laws are not being enforced. Sea turtles, people kill and say they are nice. We are to prevent and reduce and control pollution. We are to reduce illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing that has led to Ghana, EU giving Ghana a yellow card. We are to enforce the laws and regulations, and we are to ensure wise use of living resources. And we are all under the law directed to work together as a whole world and as a region, as a nation, to protect the seas. So another way of ensuring wise use is that whatever we harvest or we take from the ocean is managed well, and that is post-harvest management. So when it comes to fish or any life that you take from the ocean, it is our duty to handle it well, ensure it is on cold chain, and all these laws, general management practices, the sanitary and phytosanitary measures, the hazard analysis and critical control points, the codex laws, all are regulations that have been made to ensure that the resources from the ocean are widely used and protected. We should store them well. Those that have been stored, that should be stored cold, should be stored cold. Those that should be stored warm, should be stored warm. We should process and add value to it so that we don't go on taking more from the ocean. So essentially, we are to preserve, conserve, protect, and improve utilization of the resources. Especially when it comes to species that are shared by many countries, the law states that they are transboundary. So when it is in your waters, don't say this species is not for me, so you destroy it. So all these states, the coastal states have the rule, the right to protect transboundary stocks. Those that are far away, like the tunas, that are highly migratory, move up and down in the higher seas, are also to be protected. Those that straddle one country to the other, the laws provide that they should be protected. So there's nothing like an orphan stock. Any species that is found in any one particular country is linked to the other and must be protected. So all these provisions have been made in the international laws. There's also international institutional framework that gives responsibility to organizations to protect the ocean. FAO, and then there are so many, over 40-something regional fisheries management organizations and various committees that are set up to protect the oceans. And then we have international governmental organizations, NGOs, research centers, and the World Trade Organization. All of these have responsibility to protect the oceans. Then when you come to Ghana, we have a number of ministries. Ministry of Natural Resources, Lands and Natural Resources, my own Ministry of Fisheries and Aquaculture Development, and the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology. These ministries have direct responsibility to protect the oceans. The oceans are in the direct control of the Ghana Maritime Authority, who has the responsibility to protect and manage the oceans of Ghana and its life. We have the Forestry Commission, we have the Fisheries Commission, we have all the municipal and district assemblies. They are directly in charge of the shores. various local government arrangements. We have academia like us, and in the universities and research institutions, we have to do the education and training. We are training, giving people degrees, and we are doing outreach into the communities and into the schools. This seminar that I accepted to do is part of our outreach as well, to reach out and educate people. Then we have NGOs and then community-based organizations as well. We have chiefs and other traditional authority and the general public. All of us must work together to protect the ocean. In addition to all that I've said, Ghana has signed to a law that we call the polluter pays principle. And EPA, this is one of the main things that EPA uses to do its work. It says that all the diverse users of the ocean resource must work together to ensure its ecological integrity over time and to pay to clean and protect it. So if you are a user of the ocean, if you even go and swim there, it is your responsibility to ensure that when you go to swim, you don't urinate into the sea. You have to come to land and come and urinate, and you don't put your waste into the sea. It is all of us our responsibility to protect the ocean. Now, each and every one of us has to make some lifestyle choices and participate in the sensitization. We need to eat sustainable seafood. What I mean by this is that if you know that the fish has not been caught well, don't buy it. We need to reduce our energy use so that we don't take so much energy from the sea. We need to reuse our plastics and not throw the plastics away. If we properly dispose all hazardous material, our sea life will be protected. All the fertilizer in the coastal area, the fertilizer that we use, and even the weedicides and the pesticides that we use, when it rains, they run into the sea and destroy aquatic life. We should pick up our baggage and our litter and clean up our beaches. We should also not purchase items that are taken from the oceans and that will destroy the ocean. We should not even make too much noise in the ocean. That's why I like the guys who now, they said Aduma. So no noise, especially along the coast. No noise, because sea life move away when there is noise. And it is our responsibility to educate ourselves and others and let everybody participate in this cleanup and protection of the ocean. So my conclusion, I'm saying that who is to protect the oceans? The duty is to all of us. All of us must recognize the importance of the ocean. When the ocean is away, our lives will be affected. The ocean sustains our lives. And so we should work collectively to protect it, and that is our charge. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Prof. Nunoo. That was very insightful and with so much to learn from. I hope my colleagues, participants, and other leadership will attest to that. Thank you very much. I would want to say that if you have any questions you want to put to Professor Nunoo, I think you can prepare them now. Before he gets to answer those questions, I would want other presenter to go ahead and do the presentation, if that's okay. Or if you still want to ask your questions now, we can open the space for you to ask your questions so that we can continue from here. If that's okay. Okay, well, I think that I would start with some few questions before we go to the next presentation. And so, Professor Nunoo, I hope you're still on.
Yeah, I'm still on.
Okay, I want to ask some few questions. I'm sure my other colleagues are preparing so that they also come in. Quite an insightful presentation. One thing that struck me is the fact that you said we had the sea has a lot of energy, but we are still importing so much energy into the country, specifically Ghana, I mean, and that really is fascinating to me. I would want you to explain a bit further on what you meant by that and how the country can harness that potential of the sea.
Okay, so the sea has what we call the tide and the waves. These tides and waves are very strong. And you remember when you go to the seaside and you even stand on the sand and the water comes and is moving away, it can even move you by a strong force. And if you try to swim and you don't know how to swim, the sea can carry you with a strong force. It is this strong energy within the tides and the waves that human beings have developed technologies and have built turbines that are installed in the seas to turn, is this same turbine similar to what is set up in the Akosombo. The Akosombo just absorbs the energy of the lake and converts it into energy. The same technology and a similar technology is what we can set up by the sea side and generate energy for Ghana as a country. We don't have the technology in Ghana for now, but other developed nations like the US and other countries are using the oceans as a source of energy. And we have a lot of wind also in Ghana, and the wind can also be a source of energy to us. So the same way we have vast amount of sun, solar energy, we as a country, we need to invest in the technology and in the infrastructure for using the energy from the tides and waves, in our lives. We are going for the short-term measures, the fast methods of just quickly buying, going for all those things, car power and all that into Ghana. Whilst we have the sea sitting here, we should invest in infrastructure, and the technology exists. All we have to do is to import the technology, build the capacity locally, and doom so will be forever over. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if any other.
Yeah, I think okay. I have two questions in all for Prof. Prof, thank you very much for the presentation. In fact, I wish I will not do my presentation at all because he covered most of the things that I have.
Please do it.
Yes, but I hope you are aware of the recent dolphins that were washed ashore in the country. Some varied reasons were given, and from your presentation, I get the sense that actually the human activities are the major cause of it. I mean, one of the causes, they said the fishes were stressed up. I want to hear from your expert's view.
Okay, so continue.
Yeah, I was wanted to ask, is it the case that they were stressed actually?
Okay, so stress has been used in a very loose sense. Anything that affects you and that doesn't make you comfortable can be a stress. So stress has been used in a loose sense. In this particular situation, our studies from the university show that there was a sudden state of upwelling. Upwelling means that the bottom water came up. First, our waters became very cold. And when the waters become very cold, then the bottom water comes up and then the top water goes down. So it created a situation of oxygen, the amount of oxygen in the water became very small. And when oxygen is lacking, all of us, when we can't breathe, then we can't survive. So that has been fingered. The localized upwelling happened due to temperature drop, and that was felt across the international waters, including even some places in West Africa. The second thing is that we found that there was some chemical elevation. We didn't have the capacity to identify which particular chemical, but at least there was some chemical elevation, and that has been collaborated by other scientists as well. The third thing was that when we postulate that when the waters became stressed, the dolphins decided to come to land, and the dolphins are migratory, so they lost direction and then were carried by the waves to land. When you are stressed, anything can hit you, and they lost their way to land. In addition, we have feelers or information to the extent that there was some work by the army somewhere in our oceans, and it led to elevated noise. And dolphins in particular are affected by noise. They are affected by noise. So sound, remember I talked about sound. So wherever there's excessive sound in the waters, dolphins are affected. So a combination of all these factors, and let me put on record that dolphins do not breathe oxygen in water. They breathe oxygen in the air. So they come up to take the oxygen, then go down, come up to take oxygen, then go down for a while. They can take oxygen and stay down for 2 to 3 hours. So a combination of all these oxygen, chemical, sound in our local waters at that particular time led to this. And the various committees, EPA has moved the committees, a number of stakeholders together. The Fisheries Commission and the Ministry of Fisheries brought stakeholders together, and we are all agreed that this is what happened. And there's the need as a country to continuously monitor our oceans. We are sitting here, if somebody puts some chemical in the ocean that is going to kill us, we have no way of knowing this. If the sea is going to flood and cause a storm, we don't even have a tidal gauge that will measure that for us. We need to use remote sensing and put these things, these buoys and things along our coast and even in our waters to monitor the oceans. So essentially, as a country, there's a need for some capacity building where the oceans are concerned. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Then my last question. My last question has to do with, you mentioned a number of international laws and treaties that Ghana has signed on to, and we are expected to put them into practice, implement them, and ensure that. Are there any sanctions or penalties for our failure to adhere to these? And why haven't we, as a country, been able to follow through these treaties, though we are signatories to them? It baffles my mind, though, Prof.
Okay, thank you. As a nation, we've easily signed to international conventions and treaties, and we sign them, and then we are given responsibilities. These responsibilities we translate into our policies and our laws. So we have policies and laws to give meaning to these international treaties. But what happens is that we don't implement them. Yes, the international bodies have been giving us sanctions. Some of these things, and this nation might be suffering from certain sanctions because we are not doing certain things. We are not getting some benefits that some other countries get to protect their ocean. And there are a number of them. A typical example is the EU, which is now giving us Ghana a yellow card. And the yellow card is just a warning that if we don't clean up our seas, and if we don't stop cycle, and if we don't do all the illegal, if we don't stop the illegal things, then they will not even buy our fish. So we cannot export our fish. So these are some of the sanctions. Often, I believe that the politicians and others are able to wave their way out. Ghana can benefit from a number of funds and other things that we can use to develop our nations if we were doing things right. And we are not getting them. We are not getting them. So I believe that we are being sanctioned one way or the other, indirectly. That's why we don't see it. If it's directly, we would have seen it. Some of them are indirect. That's why we are not seeing it.
I think I also have a question. I don't know. Can you hear me, Prof?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, so my question has to do generally with coastal ecosystems and mangroves. and its contribution to climate action in terms of natural mitigation processes. How do you see this in general? And in Ghana, do we have any major mangroves? And at what rates are we looking at depreciation as a result of artificial and natural activities?
Yes, thank you very much. The mangroves help us a lot. You remember I said that the oceans has got phytoplankton plants that absorb the carbon dioxide and help save us from carbon dioxide. The mangrove is one of the most diverse, biologically diverse ecosystem that we have, especially in Ghana. And they have lots of organic matter, lots of leaves, plants that can absorb carbon dioxide for us and to make the air clean and to reduce the climate change happening in the world. But what we are doing is we are cutting down. There's a study that is being, I have a study that is published and you can find it online. I did a study along the coast of Ghana, visited over 90 lagoons in Ghana, and most of them have got the mangroves chopped off, burnt for charcoal and burnt for firewood, etc. And the rate is very high. We are losing more than 40% of our mangrove within a certain short period. And this is devastating and is not good for us. So I would say that Ghana is losing an opportunity. We are all sitting down and using the wetlands as just a wasteland. And eventually we are going to use the taxpayers' money to import various things into this country. And I foresee that in the next 50 to 100 years. So we all must work to ensure that these mangroves and other things that God has gifted us with, to protect them. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Gideon, are you okay? Yeah, so Prof, I have one other question. We know that the Paris Agreement some years back had this projection of 1.5 degrees Celsius of carbon emissions. And from your presentation, we understand that the ocean is very critical in the kind of in carbon emission, I should say, because of
carbon absorption.
Carbon absorption.
Yes.
Thank you for the correction. So in this way, the contribution of the ocean and the activities that are currently going on affecting the strength of the ocean and its inhabitants. And with this ambitious target of 1.5 degrees Celsius, how do you connect the dots? Is it possible that we'll be able to get to this particular destination?
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So under the Paris Agreement, it is expected that the countries are agreeing that the temperature of the world will not increase more than 1.5 degrees Celsius, okay? And that various countries are to reduce their carbon dioxide emissions. And I stated that one way that we can reduce the carbon dioxide emissions is to make sure that we protect the oceans so that the oceans will absorb a lot of the carbon dioxide that we are producing. And let's note that carbon dioxide is a gas and it moves wherever. So the developed countries can produce it and we in the developing countries might have the problem. So it is an ambitious target, but it is doable. And one way is that we protect our oceans, then the oceans will keep its ecological integrity. The oceans will be capable and strong to continue to absorb the carbon dioxide for us. If we do that, then that target is easy to reach. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Benedicta, you have your hand up. You can go ahead and ask the question.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I don't know whether this question has already been asked. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay, I don't know whether this question has already been asked because I went offline. I wanted to know the correlation between the Forestry Commission and the ocean, because under the National Institutional Framework, I saw the Forestry Commission, and I didn't know the correlation between them and the ocean. So I wanted some clarification, if you could help.
Okay. Okay, so the Forestry Commission is in charge of all wetlands in Ghana.
Okay.
So they have a wetlands unit, and the wetlands are directly located adjacent to the ocean. So the wetland is the flooded area where all water from land is stored before released into the ocean. It's stored and cleaned up. The bad things are cleaned up by the wetlands and it goes into the ocean. So if those managing the wetlands are not managing the wetland well,
Okay.
the ocean is affected. Do you get the connection?
Okay. Yes, yes, I do. I do now.
All right, that's it.
I do
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you
the
very
mangroves
much.
are along the ocean.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Benedict. And Kizito, you have a question. If your line is stable, you can go ahead and ask your question.
Thank you very much. I don't know if you can hear me well.
Yes, okay.
Yes, I mean, I was following Prof's presentation, but unfortunately, I kept having a, going off and on. But I mean, no matter how insightful Prof's presentation is, the question that really bothers me is our inability as a country to fight or commit to protecting our oceans. So then I'm asking the question: is it a matter of lack of laws to undertake this exercise, or is simply our inability to enforce the existing laws? Thank you.
Okay, my simple answer is that many people do not have this ocean knowledge. Many people do not understand how the ocean sustains our lives. They see it as some big water that they can put anything inside. So I believe that there's the need for a threshold of education to go around. Those in power, our politicians, our leaders, MMDAs, whatever, do not understand the ocean system. We don't have a critical capacity of people who understand the dynamics of the ocean, the wetlands, the rivers and things in our country. Even the teachers and the scientists out there, people understand more of the land than the ocean. There's a phobia for the ocean, even within the country. I remember when I was growing up, if I go to the seaside, my parents beat me. I was beaten for going to the seaside in Appiah. I was beaten heavily. And my father would put your finger behind your ears and taste it and know that you have gone to seaside and all that. So the ocean is there. We don't really understand it. We fear it. And so some people even worship it as gods, etc. rather, because the ocean is wonderful. But I believe that when the education goes on, that's why in the recent World Oceans Day, we mounted a lot of educational programs just to educate the populace. We need to keep doing this, and I must commend you for doing this seminar. Take it out there. Let's make a lot of noise for people to know the importance of protecting the ocean. And I believe when we do that, all the various laws that we have signed up and things, we'll be able to mainstream the ocean knowledge into even the laws and the policies we are making. Let's take it up. The charge is for all of us.
Yeah, thank you very much, Prof. Are there other questions from anybody? If not, then we would want to continue with Abdullah to give us that very short presentation of his. Abdullah is an award-winning ocean and environmental journalist. He recently was adjudged the Best Ocean Reporter by Earth Journalism Network under its West African Fisheries Journalism project. So he has pretty much in-depth in this area when it comes to the media and CSOs. I will leave you, Abdullah, to take the stage now and give us your presentation.
Thank you very much, Prince. I must say that I'm very happy that we have put this together, and I must also be thankful to Prof for accepting to do this with us, and we assure him that we are all in this together and we are going to push the agenda so we see that we have reached a very reasonable success. Okay, as by way of introduction, as I have already been introduced, my name is Afedzi Abdullah. I'm a member of the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, and I'm also an ocean journalist. We can say that the issue that we are discussing about, I mean, protecting the ocean, is not an easy one. In fact, Prof has extensively elaborated to us the importance role that the ocean plays in our lives. The ocean are a very vast, and it contains, as Prof said, about over 97% of the planet's livable habitat, and it acts as a home to millions and millions of different species. So therefore, managing the ocean becomes very complex, especially as Prof indicated, we have some large portion of them as a shared resource. So talking about, look, can you move on to the next slide, please? Okay, so for why we have to protect the ocean, I wouldn't want to spend much time on it because I think Prof have done very good work to that justice to agriculture. So we can move on. With all the international laws, the Sustainable Development Goal 14, which talks about life underwater and which actually recognizes the fact that we cannot eradicate poverty and ensure sustainable development without safeguarding our seas and our oceans. So it goes on to buttress the idea that indeed we all have the honors call to protect the ocean and then to also make it work and then make it very good for all of us. It has some, in natural sense, our livelihood as a human race to a large extent depends on the ocean. Okay, so for the threats to the marine species, I think this one too, Prof have done a lot of justice to it, because my presentation basically is centered on the role of stakeholders, key stakeholders, what we can bring on board to in this subject matter and how we can all play our respective roles and ensure that we actually adequately protect the ocean for the benefit of human race. So I will not want to spend more time and talk about the threats that it has, overfishing, talking about pollution, in terms of IUU practices. Now, I think one of the things that Prof didn't talk about is the fact that we have the oil, and then we are talking about oil exploration, which has also produced some harmful noises and some chemicals that are spilled into the sea, and it has enormous negative impact on the sea. So now to my major issues that I want us to look at. So who are the key stakeholders in this whole subject matter of protecting the sea? I mean, the first and the utmost key stakeholder is the government. And the government as an entity has institutions and agencies. Prof has mentioned some of them. We have the Fisheries Commission, we have the Ghana Maritime Authority, we have the Environmental Protection Agency, and all of that. We have the civil society like ourselves, NGOs and civil society like ourselves. We also have a very critical role to play, like we are doing. It is all part of our quota to contributing to the effort to protecting the ocean, and then to the larger extent, its inhabitants. And then you talk about, I want to lay much emphasis on our local fisher-folks and residents along the coast. Usually, we don't talk about them. Local people along we don't talk about them but when you talk about ocean pollution, which is one of the major causes of discomfort for inhabitants in the sea, these people, the fishermen and local fisher folks and residents along the coast, are the major culprit. They live there. They do all the dumping. Most of the plastics that you find in the sea, they do that. So I think that the focus should also be on them, give them the sensitization, make them understand, like Prof said, we should give them the ocean knowledge to know the harm that they will cause if they keep throwing and polluting the sea. Of course, and then to my area, the media. The media is also another very important stakeholder in this area, because we live in the age where a lot of people tend to believe what they hear on radio and see on TV and read in the newspapers than even what their friends tell them. So it means that the media has a very strong influence, and then we can use our influence to also educate and make people contribute to the ocean knowledge and make people understand the need and for them to be much more conscious when it comes to the usage of the ocean. And then, of course, where Prof is coming from, the academia, they cannot be underestimated. Their contribution cannot be estimated. So these are but few stakeholders for the purposes of this presentation, I have settled on to talk about them. So next slide. Hello? Okay. Sorry. So the next thing that I want to talk about, go back, please. Okay, so the government. So the government has a number of ways that it could protect the ocean and other water bodies and their inhabitants from further harm. And it does this through its agencies. We have, like the Prof have mentioned some of them, the Ghana Maritime Authority. They have an act that is the new amendment. Yes, they have an act, the amended one, that is the Act 2011 Act 825, which the Ghana Maritime Authority are generally considered as the landlords of the ocean. They are responsible for the governance of the ocean, and they perform functions relating to maritime pollution, vessel safety, and crew training. And then we also have the Environmental Protection Agency. The Environmental Protection Agency also has the responsibility to ensure that activities would not interfere with the environment, that i.e. including protecting the marine environment. And then we also have the Fisheries Commission. The Fisheries Commission also, like Prof mentioned, has that responsibility of regulating the types of fishing, when to fish, how to fish, what method to use, and how much effort could be allowed based on the available fisheries resources in the ocean. We have a number of them, even the National Petroleum Authority and the National Petroleum Commission, GNPC, both have joint responsibility for the hydrocarbon industry and a couple of them. So these are the agencies that the government uses, or through them, the government is able to play their functions. And so, yeah. So one of the key things that the government can use to protect the environment are the formulation of laws and policies. This one, Prof has spoken more about it, but I think that, Prof, one of the things that I have noted with respect to the laws that we have regarding ocean governance is that the policies and the laws are fragmented. So we have the Ghana Maritime Authority Act, we have the Fisheries Commission Act 2002, we have several others. So it makes the governance of the ocean somehow not coordinated, if I should say, not coordinated in the sense that every institution and agency does their things separately. That coordination is not there. So for me, and also one thing that I've noted is that the laws are not specific. Our laws have not been specific, tilted towards protection of they are not explicit. Most of the case, it covers the broader picture of marine and all of those, but you have to be specific with respect to protecting marine life. And then so I would suggest, or I think it is better if we have what we call a law that will bring all of these institutions and agencies under one body. I don't know how we can call it, like a ocean policy, Ghana ocean policy or something like that, and so that it can adequately coordinate the governance governance of the ocean, so that we achieve a specific purpose. Because over the years, having followed and reported on the ocean and the fishery sector, I think that these are what I have noticed, and I think that it is also another reason why we are not able to adequately deal with the issue of ocean governance. So please, can we move on to the next? Okay, so that is it. Let's stay there. Okay, so that is how it has to do with the laws and implementations. And then we talk about effective implementation of the laws that protect marine. Here too, I think that the laws are there, as Prof indicated. Our ability to implement them has been the problem. Most of the time, I think that stakeholders like us, both the above mentioned stakeholders, seems to relay the responsibility of implementation on the government alone. I think that stakeholders can also come on board to help government in the implementation of these laws. And we can only do that if we're able to allow ourselves and educate ourselves and understand the ocean governance itself. Then, because if we are, it will interest you to know somebody who is a media person does not even know that these ABC laws are there to be followed, okay? And therefore, we are not able to help the government in that implementation. I also think that the government has to demonstrate a strong passion and commitment. This is lacking, like one of the questions that Kizuto asked. I feel that it is our inability that over the years, successive government have not shown enough commitment to protect the marine, the ocean, and by extension, its inhabitants. And therefore, when it comes to taking concrete steps to do that, they don't do that, okay? We talk about collaboration with private sector. Most of these pollutants of the ocean, especially if you go to the oil field, are big, giant institutions that has a lot of money, and therefore they just spill the waste into the sea and nobody is monitoring them. So if there's that collaboration and monitoring, I think we can also go a long way. So the government has to also encourage what we call the local participation and make the local people feel ownership of the ocean, and therefore they can be able to protect the ocean. Next slide, please. Okay, so it brings me to that area of the media, CSO, and academia. What can we do? First, I'll talk about the media. I think that in Ghana, we don't have enough ocean and environment journalists. Maybe that is partly due to the fact that the practice, there's no specialization in the country. So the more that we have more people like us who understands ocean governance, who understands the issues, that is the better we'll be able to report on them and create the necessary awareness and education to carry on and ensure that we have a positive result. So I'm calling for a more environmental journalists, colleagues to come on board and champion this cause. Academia, in fact, there's one thing I have to commend the academia in Ghana is that they are doing very well in terms of research and all of that. But one thing they have not been trying is trying to, like Prof just mentioned that he did a research on looking at the mangroves and all of that, and they are there, okay? But I think they have to work with the stakeholders, okay? If you have a research and these are the results and the results are blaring, we can bring it to the media, we bring it out, and then for them engage the government who are the major policy makers, then we can make a headway. Yeah, so CSOs can also increase, what else can they do? They have to increase their advocacy and education, and then make and how let the people know the adverse effect of the activities on the sea. Okay, next slide. So the local fisher folks and residents, I think they have to work on them seriously, and they have to understand that there's the need to reduce ocean pollution, and their actions have adverse effects on the sea and ultimately on their own lives. They have to abide by the laws that protect the marine life, and they don't have to engage in IAU practices and all of that. So we have been doing this. Yes, I know the education has been going on, but we still have to do more, and the commitment to do more has to come from government, and then the stakeholders, media, and all other people to other stakeholders will also follow, and we move forward. So in conclusion, what I would say is that our lives are intrinsically linked to the environment, and the ocean being the largest environment. So if at any point in time, we can agree that there's a problem with the ocean, then we as a nation should also show concern. We have to realize that the ocean needs to be properly cared for, so it will in turn care for us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abdullah. That was very, very, very good and revealing. Thank you. I want to find out if any of our colleagues online has any question to ask Abdullah. I have a couple of questions to ask Abdullah and Prof, if he's still on the line.
Still here. I also want to make some comments to his presentation.
Okay, so go ahead first.
Okay, then yes, thank you, Abdullah, for the presentation. You did very well. There's this part about the working together of the various agencies. Yes, if you look at the laws, there are overlapping laws, in the overlapping roles among the commission, the ministries here and there, the overlapping roles. But one way, I spoke to some lawyers and they told me that one way to cure this is the fact that each of the various commissions have got boards. And for instance, the Fisheries Commission is represented on the GMA board. The EPA is represented on the GMA board. If you come to Fisheries Commission, they have a board. EPA, GMA, and this are also on the board. So you have all the interlinked agencies serving on each other's boards. And that is the way the system has done, so that they will be able to talk to each other and work together. So it's just that probably we are not implementing things well. But largely, if you look at the way that our laws have been set up, all the institutions should be able to do their work very well, peacefully and effectively, because they are on the highest representing body the boards are there. Another thing we should note is that the government has set up what is called the CODA, Coastal Development Authority. And the Coastal Development Authority has also got all these people on the boards. All these are on the board of the Coastal Development Authority. EPA, GMA, Forestry Commission, Fisheries Commission, they are all on the Coastal Development Authority. So they cannot do anything without each other. So the institutions are there. I believe that it's in the implementation. And eventually you find out that these agencies receive the little of budget. So often their hands are tied with budget. If Fisheries Commission has to monitor IUU, they have to go to Navy, the vessel, the cost, the fuel that is used over 1 month. If you look at the budget, very high. Meanwhile, their budget overall is small. So it's the budget and then the capacity, but as to working together, the laws are there. The institutions are there, just that we are not doing it right. Thank you.
Yeah, but Prof, quick one. Don't you also think that, yes, the representatives of the board, they all serve on the boards, but don't you think that they come in as an individual institution and therefore there is a usurpation of roles? Because let's say Ghana Maritime Authority, they think that, oh, this is what we do. So maybe Fisheries Commission will want to do something and say, oh, this one, it is not what you are supposed to do. We have to do this. So if all of these have been brought under one umbrella with all of them, then they know that, yes, we are one. This is our goal. This is what we are working on. And then we can all do it under having this individual separate institutions, and they all have establish and outline roles that they are supposed to do, and therefore one may feel that, oh, because this is common, Prof, maybe you can attest to that. At the point somebody will feel you are trying to take the shine from me, this is what I'm supposed to do, and so that is where I was also looking at that. Yeah. And thinking that if there could be a way we can bring all of these institutions and agencies under one umbrella.
Yeah, Abdullah, you are right. But I was just telling you that the Coastal Development Authority is that one umbrella. All of them are on the umbrella. And if the board is working well, the board is to control what the authority is doing. So the board should not allow them to just do whatever they like. And the Coastal Development Authority overrides all these individual agencies. So it's the implementation. I believe we are not implementing well. For instance, if you go to GMA and their board, I've got Fisheries Commission, I've got EPA, I've got Forestry Commission, and all on the board. When the board is effective and taking decisions, they will not allow GMA to do whatever they like, because they will come in, each of them will come in and ensure that whatever they are doing is proper for the whole Ghana. But they just go and drink tea and come back.
So, Prof, I just want to chip in this. There's a short question, follow up to what you just said. What kind of implementation are we talking about here? Should it be in the form of, just on the lighter side, like the Galamsey fight with military men visiting the mining areas and, preventing people from doing what they are doing and all that? But what kind of implementation will best fit the ocean and to protect it with respect to the discussion we are having now?
I think we should do sustained education, and then we should prosecute offenders, irrespective of whoever is doing the wrong thing. As soon as you start prosecuting offenders, withdrawing their licenses, don't allow them to fish, don't do this, don't do that, people will sit up. So sustained enforcement of the laws, sustained education, I think is the way forward.
Yeah, sure. I think it's a way forward, but I have a concern, which is how the authorities can, is it arrest or keep an eye on activities along the oceans or along the sea, and that has been a very major concern. It seems.
Yeah, and in the presentation, I propose that we use remote sensing. We put buoys and we put sensors on various parts of the ocean, so that people can sit at a control room and see whoever is doing what. We have it similar. We have a similar thing in the fishery sector, where the vessels have got transponders, sensors put on them, so that on land we can see whatever they are doing. Something like that can be done for the entire sea. That's what, in the US or developed country, you can't go anywhere on their high seas or on their sea to do anything that you like. By the time you finish and you land, you'll be caught. I can even narrate an issue where in the US, I went fishing with a team, a research team, and we're going for crabs. So we have a license to catch crabs. When we caught the crabs, there were a few fishes that came along. And me, Kofi Blackman, I said, oh, I will land the fish. And that evening, that day, I was dreaming about some fancy that I'll prepare with the fish. You know, so, but my colleagues who were white, two of them told me that the license says, let's catch only crabs. If you catch fish, you have to put it back. I said, oh, nobody will see us. So I kept some of the fish and then brought them to land. When we got to land, my friend said, okay, they won't join me. I should only hold the ice chest with the fish. And they held the ice chest with the crabs. On the way, just at the beach, within a few meters in the beach, I was accosted by marine police. Marine police accosted me at the beach. Yes, what do you have? And I had to show them what I had. They said I should show them the license for it. I showed them a copy of the license, and they said the license is for crabs, not for fish. And in fact, the fish that you have caught is for that particular fish, they pulled out their tablet, and for that particular fish, the size that I had caught was less than the minimum landing size. For every fish, there's a size that you must land. And so what I was holding, let's say, was 10 centimeters. They said you have to land from 15 centimeters going. So they caught me, I was arrested. At the beach, immediately I was put in handcuffs and taken to police station. My supervisor had to be called, and I was bailed and I was fined $300. Meanwhile, the job I was doing for 3 days was going to give me $300. And the first day, I was fined $300. So in the end, my supervisor paid for me, but he didn't pay me my money because you went against the law and you were fined. And I lost $300. At that time, when you multiply it, the way I had planned to use that money, next time I will not do the bad thing out there. So the laws work in other countries. We are not enforcing the laws.
So then I think we need the marine police to be.
They are there. The marine police is there. Yeah. And they don't have the capacity. It's just a small unit. They are not over everywhere. There they have marine police. They have Coast Guard, which is patrolling the entire coast. Before they have the Navy. All of them. Action. If you misbehave, you'll be caught. I was even shown pictures of us on the boat. I didn't know that they were taking pictures of us. They have equipment out there, and they took pictures, and they had seen already that I had fish. How come when I landed, I was the only one caught? They saw me put the fish in that particular ice chest, and they came and arrested me.
Wow. Okay, thank you very much for that experience shared. I think we are inching closer to the end of our seminar this morning. I don't know if any other participant has any question to ask. I think
Prince, I have one question.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just to chip in addition to what Prof said, I think the Marine Police, to a large extent, because I've engaged the director a couple of times, they do their best, even in arresting these Chinese vessels in our waters. But when it comes to prosecution, it also becomes a whole issue altogether. And also, in addition to the monitoring device, I think a lot of countries depend on the AIS monitoring system. These are for very big vessels within international waters to monitor whether they are fishing in their respective zones. My question is actually in two folds to Prof and Afedzi. Any of them could address it. To what extent does protecting the ocean ecosystems feature in our nationally determined contributions for climate action? And have they also looked at other innovative financing mechanisms apart from the traditional financing mechanisms available, which funds the various ocean institutions? Have they explored other financial mechanisms as a country we can look at moving forward, which is not mainstream at the moment? Prince, we cannot hear you.
I think Prof has vacated his seat. So
can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I was having some network problems, so I didn't hear your question really well, but I came to meet the part that you were talking about, whether or not we have alternative funding mechanisms for institutions that are—
Yeah, so let me repeat the first part. The first part basically is to what extent does protecting the ocean ecosystems feature in the to what extent does protecting the ocean ecosystems feature in our nationally determined contributions for climate action? And also, what are the other financial instruments we can use apart from the traditional ones which are directed to the various ocean institutions, which governments can leverage on to beef up funding into ocean conservation programs?
Well, okay. For me, the first part, maybe I think I'll leave it for Prof to tackle it if he had it, right? But for the second part relating to funding, I think one of the means that these institutions can generate some money to also beef up their funding to do the activities is one through their internally generated funds. If they should do, like Prof mentioned in part in his presentation, if they should do their work and do it very well, they are going to get money to fund their activities. For, let's say, the Fisheries Commission, for instance, if a vessel is caught for engaging in IUU practices, like recently we heard they were fined $1 million, okay? Where does that $1 million go? Okay, I believe, I stand to be corrected though, that some amount will go back to the Fisheries Commission. So if they stake their ground and do, this is my view, and do their work well, obviously they will get, through their internally generated funds, will get money to further do improve or further increase their activities, and then it will help them to expand to reach more areas as well. So I think that is one way that they will be able to, because we know the government money that comes is not enough. Okay, and with respect to, I think that's what Prof spoke about in his presentation, with respect to the international laws and treaties that we are signing. Sometimes it comes with some level of some small monies and some monies attached to it for implementation. So if we do it well, we get more of those money. If we don't do it well, we lose. Like I still cite the fishes one. If the EU has given us yellow card, and if we don't do the right things and subsequently get a red card, then it means that we are not going to import fish into their market, and imagine what we are losing. But if we had done things right, we can continue to import more into their market and get more money, revenue. So if you ask me, it's all about doing the right things, doing things right, and we get money to fund the activities. Prof, I think maybe you can respond to his first part of his question.
The nationally determined contribution.
Yeah, NDCs, I've not followed the NDCs very well. We have a climate group, so I leave that part to them. So I will not be able to respond to that one. But about the other part, the money part and all that, yes, it's true. When the fines are made, the money that comes, we have a fishery development fund, and the money will go into it. But the government takes, I think, 60%, and only 40% comes to the fishery development fund. That figure, I'm not too sure, but it's really less than 50% comes to the Fisheries Commission for its to support its activities and others that they do. It's true, but you see, a lot of people are caught, but prosecution does not happen. There's a lot of ADR, alternative dispute resolution. They bring it and they sort it out, talk to people. So by the end of the year, the fines that are collected at the end of the whole year is not even up to the $1 million, you know? So it means that there's selective, whatever, the law is not being rigidly applied. If you are fined $1 million, it's meant to be a deterrent so that people will not do it again. But eventually people are charged, $50,000, $20,000, so that because if you charge them 1 million, you are breaking the company. Yes, we should break the company so that it will be a deterrent to others. But the point I'm just making here is that the money fully does not go into any state agency. Some is sent into the consolidated budget, and only a small amount comes to the agency. Thank you.
So, Prof, then that is why I was saying that if we are able to fill the potholes, okay, fill the hoses, and then probably bring in more money, okay, let's say 100%, government takes 60% and 40%. That 40% will still be some substantial.
Yes.
To do something.
Sure.
Yeah. So it's about just being firm and sticking to our ground and implementing the laws and then doing the right things and generating the required money that we have. And then I think we'll get the money to run.
Is if the politicians will allow you to do that, you know.
that is also another subject matter for discussion altogether. Yes.
All right, Prof. Thank you very much. Thank you, Abdullah. I have a very last question then, and we asked Prof to give us his closing remarks. Then we all get to our businesses from here. Finally, Prof, I want to find out if there is any documents available with regards to the outcome of the preliminary investigations on the fishes that were washed ashore recently.
Okay, so when we met, there was an agreement that the various stakeholders should hold on and allow the Fisheries Commission or the EPA to come out. So very soon, within the next week, the Fisheries Commission is going to issue a statement on it. And then that will put to rest the whole issue. Since it's about fish, we all agree that the Fisheries Commission should talk about the fish, and the EPA will also talk about the environment. So these two bodies will issue some statements within the next week, and then the public will be well informed. Thank you.
All right, so I'm done. Can you give us maybe your closing remarks? Then we end the seminar today.
Yeah, so what I want to say to all of us is that all of us have a duty, like from what we've both presented, we have a duty and we need to sustain these engagements. We should not leave it to be once a while. We should sustain it and take this education to the school, to the communities and all. So let's look for funding, and sometimes education does not take a lot of funding. Let's sustain this both in media, print and everything. And for me personally, I've made myself available to the media to anytime talk. So, and together we'll make the impact, work together. Let's sustain this. And that's my message to all of us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prof. Nunoo. We thank you for your time. Thank you for the insightful presentation and contribution to the ocean and the ocean inhabitants and the work you are doing. I thank you all the participants that joined the seminar right from the beginning and those who joined along the line. I want to say a very big thank you to our leadership for putting this together as well. And I think the message is clear that we should sustain the education and advocacy and ensure that we all understand why we must protect the ocean and its inhabitants. And we believe that things will get better along the line. My name is Prince Appiah, and I've been the moderator. I think from now, if anybody wants to join the Sustainable Ocean Alliance Ghana, we'll put our details out for people to join. It's a very simple process. We have the Facebook page, Sustainable Ocean Ghana Hub. You can go to our Facebook page and like it, and you become part of it. We'll share our WhatsApp details there, and then you can join from there. Gideon, do you have anything to say?
I will thank Prof and Kweku for their time, and also Prince and the whole team for putting it together. We'll make the video for those who couldn't follow the initial stages. We'll make the video available on our various social media platforms before close of day today. Thank you very much. Let's keep the conversation going, as Prof said. Nice meeting you all.
All right, so before we go, I think everybody can put on their videos, then we can take a very short, a simple snapshot of a picture.
Some have left too.
Oh, already?
Yeah.
Okay, I think the few that are here, we can put on our videos, then we can have a snap shot of all of us, and then we can end. So yeah. So Gideon, you can take the shot, right?
Yeah, so I'm done. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all for joining. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.